The war well and truly behind them, the royal family continued their duties to the Commonwealth with a visit to South Africa in February 1947. It was a memorable tour, as it marked the coming of age of Princess Elizabeth.
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
Shortly after their return to Britain, the engagement was announced of Princess Elizabeth to the dashing Philip of Greece. The nation, still living with post-war austerity, looked forward to the pageantry of a royal wedding. The couple had first met many years earlier, when the young princess visited the Naval College at Dartmouth with her parents. Philip was then a cadet, continuing in the tradition of his uncle, Lord Louis Mountbatten, who had for years been a trusted friend of the royal family. For her wedding, the bride had been allotted 100 extra clothing coupons, but was swamped by donations from the public. In spite of hardship, low spirits, and continued rationing, the British people rose to the occasion, and the whole nation celebrated with the happy young couple.
No wonder the people cheered themselves hoarse as the young bride and her gallant groom returned to the palace on their wedding day. And how they cheered the happy pair when they came out onto the balcony. What a wonderful picture the princess made, looking most lovely in her magnificent gown and standing happily beside her husband. Presently they were joined by their Majesties and Queen Mary, and a storm of cheering broke out afresh. The link between the British people and the royal family is something quite unique.
Watching her daughter's wedding, the Queen must have thought back to her own 25 years earlier. This anniversary was celebrated a few months later with a Thanksgiving service at St. Paul's. The King and Queen took this opportunity to speak to the nation.
It has been made the occasion of a worldwide expression of kindly goodwill towards us, which has greatly moved us. It has been an unforgettable experience to realize how many thousands of people there are in this world who wish to join in the thankfulness we feel for the 25 years of supremely happy married life which have been granted to us. I will now ask the Queen to speak to you.
I would like to add to the King's my own words of gratitude. I, too, am deeply thankful for our 25 years of happiness together, for the opportunities we have been given of service to our beloved country, and for the blessings of our home and children.
Their happy family was soon to include a new generation. Prince Charles, the first royal grandchild, was born just a few months later. The fountains in Trafalgar Square were colored blue in celebration as soon as the birth of a future king was announced. 12 temporary typists were hired to acknowledge the sacks of letters and presents which arrived at the palace. Over the next 2 years, the king's health began to cause concern. His unexpected kingship and the responsibilities of the war years had taken their toll. At last it was decided that he should undergo surgery for the arterial sclerosis which threatened to cost him one of his legs. His spirits were lifted by a second grandchild. Princess Anne was born at Clarence House on the 15th of August 1950. In spite of the worry and strain that the king's illness must have caused the Queen, she still worked tirelessly, making countless public appearances. In fact, she doubled her own workload to take the strain off her husband.
And I'm indeed glad that the King is making such steady progress that I am able to be with you today.
In 1951, the King opened the Festival of Britain, a celebration of British achievement in the arts, science and design. Although the papers reported that he looked well, it was not long before he was faced with another major operation. This time, part of a lung was removed.
I see this festival as a symbol of Britain's abiding courage and vitality. I declare the Festival of Britain open and wish it a universal success.
The next day, Their Majesties paid a
Cold January day in 1952, it was a gaunt and frail King who accompanied his daughter to the airport. She was to replace Their Majesties on a tour of Australia and New Zealand. Aware of his deteriorating health, she carried with her an envelope containing the Declaration of Accession. This was the last time that the Princess and the public were to see King George VI. He died in his sleep on February the 6th, 1952. The country mourned the King who had carried with such grace and commitment the honor which was forced upon him. His Queen, in a heartfelt statement to the public, said, "He loved you all, every one of you, most truly." His widow, who had been at his side through the crisis of the abdication and the horrors of war, now accompanied him to his final resting place. On his coffin, she placed a wreath of white roses, like those she had carried at her wedding. Nobody can forget the image of the three queens, Queen Mary, Queen Elizabeth, and the new queen, all dressed in black.